Wow, absolutely amazing and magnificent live footage there of our guest underwater. Good morning, beautiful people. And if you're just tuning in, good morning. Thank you so much for making it CVM. Thank you for making it Sunrise. Thank you so much for also joining us from all across Jamaica, every Caribbean corner, and all around the world, wherever you are, we are there with you also. Now, if you've ever wondered what it's like to explore the vibrant underwater world of Jamaica, then you're in for a real treat this morning. We're going below the surface with Sunrise Earth with world record free diver and underwater photographer, Mr. David Lee, to learn how his art is inspiring conservation and why Jamaica's marine beauty is so important to showcase. Welcome to Sunrise, David. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me.
Wow, I'm looking at the equipment over there. Those caught my eye. But first of all, I said free diving without any oxygen by your back. All your lungs manage underwater.
All right, so I mean, that's kind of something that has been happening since I was a small child, because my mother had me diving when I was 4 years old.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, just like constant exposure. And then later in life, when I say later, like in my 20s, I met a proper trainer, somebody who could teach me the things that I need to know to stay safe and extend my breath hold underwater and that kind of thing. So it's just an evolution over a very long period of time and being consistent with it. With like most things, right? If that's how you get good at stuff, is at being consistent and sticking with it.
I was going to ask you, what does that training look like? Because for the typical person, the lung capacity is probably like about, you might be able to do 20 seconds. I probably can do 15. So how do you train? How do you prepare yourself for something, for what you do?
So, you know, like regular folks, like regular aerobic training, running, these kind of things. So we do something quite different where you're actually training, but holding your breath.
Right.
Sometimes on land, maybe you're walking, holding your breath, maybe you're lifting, holding your breath, and then you'll be in the water holding your breath as well. So it's just various types of exercises while being in a state of breath hold.
Okay, so talk to me, sorry, my love. Talk to me a little bit about, David, when you go, all right, so you're free diving, you're the world record holder. What's the record you hold? And say when you're diving, how do you decide where to go, where to dive?
Okay, so with regular free diving, you know, there's regular snorkeling, which is what most folks like. You know, they take cameras and just explore. But with competitive free diving, you're trying to dive over a maximum depth. So that's really what you're doing. So when you choose somewhere to dive, usually it's no current, very deep, clear, so you can actually see where you're going. And yeah, I mean, that's how you choose. But as for training, you go through a period of, say, 6 to 8 months of training to extend your breath hold.
I want to ask you, when you are underwater, have you ever been arrested by lactic acid? Because I hear you mention the anaerobic part of things.
Right.
So the muscles begin to behave a certain way after a while?
Yes, because with the dive, there's two phases. Of course, there's the descent and the ascent, right? Most people think going down is the most difficult, but it's coming back that's really difficult. Because as you're going down, the lung volume decreases because of the pressure. So the weight that you have, you start to descend much faster because you don't have that air in your lungs floating, you know, keeping you afloat. And by the time you turn around at the bottom and you start moving, and this is where it's difficult, because when you're descending, you're relaxed, right? You're clearing your ears from the pressure. And then when you turn around, that's when you really have to start moving. So imagine holding your breath and doing a sprint.
Wow.
And then you start to feel the lactic acid building up in your legs, in your arms, and it's not fun, but you know, it can be done.
Wow, you must love what you do, David, because that's
I do.
a lot.
I really do.
So talk to us now about the art part of it,
Right.
and why is free diving important? Like some people will say, but David, we're here on Earth. Why wouldn't just stay on Earth? Why should we care about what's going on in the ocean?
Right. So, you know, I mean, the photography part came really early for me. I mean, I've always been into sports surfing, windsurfing, and I wanted a way to be able to capture that so that I could improve. So I started playing with cameras and making housings to carry them in the water. So I started this probably about 15, 16 years old, and it just evolved over a period of time. And then the equipment got better. Now, how does freediving help with that? When you're in the in the marine environment and you're making photos of fish and turtles, they're not comfortable if you got bubbles coming up, and they get quite scared. You can't get close. So if you're holding your breath, you're very stealthy.
Yes.
Right? You're not making a bunch of noise. So it allows you to interact with marine life much easier without disturbing them.
What's the most exotic sea creature, ocean creature you've ever interacted with?
I guess most people would say, oh yeah, sharks, right? Everybody would think sharks, and those are really cool, but I would have to say octopus, because they actually will interact with you. Sometimes they get scared and then they move off, but every once in a while you have that curious one that'll reach out and touch you, or
wow.
So it becomes really weird when you start to eat them after you have this interaction.
Like, this is my friend. This is my friend. But your photography is on screen, David. Talk us through some of those, please.
So, all right. So this one that you're seeing is actually a moray eel, right?
Okay.
And I was actually swimming along and I didn't see it. I was really close to the reef, and a friend of mine just said, look, and I turned around and that head was like maybe about this close. So I had to actually back up to make that photo.
Wow.
So a lot of these things that you capture, it's sort of spur of the moment, and you have to be very ready, because marine life doesn't wait for you.
Yes.
Right? So you have to be ready all the time to shoot.
To shoot and capture. And where can we get some of this art? Because I'm quite sure that there are persons watching this morning.
Right. So all of my social media handles and then also my website is David Lee Underwater. So it's quite easy, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, the website as well.
Okay. So what other what else do you want to do that you have not yet done?
Well,
underwater.
Well, I would say currently doing, but not yet completed, is another project that I'm working on called Jamaica Below the Surface.
Yes.
And I find this, it started out as a project just out of passion. So I told my cousin, and I'm sorry she's not here, she's actually with my son on another project right now, another water project actually.
Oh, wow.
I said to her, look, I wanted to shoot more. He said, where can we go shoot? So I said, nobody's really captured what under the surface looks like all around Jamaica, around the entire coast. So we've been identifying areas to show both the good and the bad. It's like sometimes you will have flourishing reefs, good amount of biodiversity, fish, and then there's places that you realize it's absolutely decimated. There's fish pots everywhere, there's coastal development, and all of that affects the marine life. And the problem is that we live in a country right now that the majority of the country doesn't swim. Nobody. You look at the sea and you just say, oh wow, nice flat, or you see waves. Nobody really thinks about what's happening below
the surface.
And exactly.
David, so I thought,
right. So actually thought, I was like, man, I love this place, and it's hard for me to go down there and start seeing plastic bottles and trash, and you start to see the reefs really being affected. Nobody really sees that. So I said, man, if I can bring this to the surface in an attractive way, and make people fall in love with it the way that I did, then maybe they will care more.
Yeah,
right?
behavior will change.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really the whole idea behind it. So we've completed quite a bit of the island already, but we still have a bit of ways to go.
Okay, so when will this project be complete? By like 2025?
Well, it was supposed to be done like last year. So, we're on the extended version right now.
Yeah.
But I want to say, based on the amount of time that we have, this is probably about 2 more years.
Okay.
So, we wanted to do that. And then we also posting all of the dives on JamaicaBelowTheSurface.com.
Okay.
And then I think the next thing to do is to just continue hitting all of the spots.
Final question.
Yes.
Have you ever, been scared? Like, have you ever seen any kind of fish life, marine life, or anything that has made you scared? Like, or you down there and lost? Like, when lost on the surface.
A fish come from river bottom until it's a shark down there.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess because you're interacting with these, with the marine life quite a lot, they don't really scare you. They may startle you, if you're there and you're shooting and you turn around and there's some monstrous fish beside you, but it doesn't really scare you. I think the things that may have scared me is getting lost in a wreck.
Oh.
Right? And then, you may, maybe not on holding your breath, but on scuba diving when you're wearing a tank. And sometimes, you know, you're in a big wreck and then you get lost, as in, I am excited, I'm just making photos, and the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, where did everybody go? I kind of got separated from the group, so how do I get out of this place?
Yeah.
So that's how, I mean, you know, you have to stay calm. Right?
MPG was asking if you ever booked a mermaid. Any mermaid, River Mama?
No mermaids.
No Ariel?
No Ariel, unfortunately.
Oh, man. I'm thinking that he's going to say under the sun.
So I guess the biggest question from me to you guys is, when are you going to come diving with me? Like this.
We're gonna
See the personal details, conditions of practice. Well, we have a costume first before we can even dive. And
So-
That's the truth.
yeah.
So I'd like to invite both of you guys, because my family owns a dive center in Port Antonio, Lady Go Divers. So when you guys are ready,
I am
come
happy
out
to
there and we'll
accept
take you
that
diving.
invitation.
Well, I'm happy to accept the invitation. I'll just be on the boat
Absolutely.
and look. Hi, David.
Right. So you talked about mermaids. Is that my mother and my cousin Leanne? They're really the only two mermaids that I really know, and they would be the ones to teach you. So kids' gloves, you know, they handle you with kids' gloves.
God.
We really thank you for advocating for the voiceless, and by that I mean the coral reefs.
Yeah.
Jamaica.
I appreciate
That's a
it,
big
guys.
part of who we are as a people and a country. Ladies and gentlemen, that was
Thank you,
David
David. All the
Lee,
best. Love
free
that.
diver and
Appreciate it,
underwater
guys.
photographer. Coming up next, we have Kendall, who celebrates Christmas right here on Sunrise. Not go too far. Thank you so much for being
Thanks, David.
here and for educating us.